You know how they say the truth always comes out. They forget to mention it usually drags destruction behind it. Tessa Monroe. I used to be the kind of woman who thought she'd never end up in court battling for custody of her own child. I was wrong. My son Miles is 10. Brilliant. Quiet. Always watching. After my divorce from Lucas Harrington, who looked like a good man on paper but turned out to be paper-thin when it came to character, I thought the worst was over. Turns out, divorcing Lucas was just the first chapter. The real storm began months later when I found out he was fighting for full custody. Didn't make sense. Lucas had always treated Miles like an accessory, something you brag about at brunch but forget in the car. He barely called. When he did, it was 5-minute phone calls that ended in, "Hey, tell your mom to call me." But then suddenly he wanted Miles full-time. I hired Denise Caldwell, a razor-sharp custody attorney who didn't blink when I told her my ex had a history of gaslighting. She just leaned back in her chair, tapped her pen and said, "Then we play this carefully. These guys don't want custody. They want control." But here's where it got weird. Miles started acting strange. One night, I caught him crouched behind the hallway door with my phone in his hand, not playing a game but recording. I asked him what he was doing. His answer chilled me. "Dad said to get proof of you being unstable." That night, I found a hidden audio file on my own phone. A full recording of me yelling, out of context, manipulated. Miles admitted Lucas had shown him how to hit record, what to say to trigger me, how to gather evidence. Denise and I filed for supervised visits immediately. The court date was set. Lucas, of course, denied everything. Miles had more to say. And that's when he told me about the red envelope. It was hidden in a vent in his room, something Lucas had told him never to show anyone. Miles looked terrified when he handed it to me. Inside, photographs, emails, screenshots, all of them. About me. Private, personal. Some that I hadn't even known had been taken. One showed me crying in the parking lot of a clinic. Another was from inside our home at night. And worst of all, there was a printed message at the bottom of one page. "She'll lose everything. And then I'll be free." I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat the next day. 'Cause someone had been watching me. And I was about to find out who. After I found the red envelope, everything shifted. The air in our home felt heavier, like an invisible weight pressing down on us. I sat at the kitchen table, the photos and messages spread out before me like a crime scene. My hands trembled as I sifted through the evidence. Each picture was a punch to the gut. Private moments stolen, personal conversations hacked, even photos of Miles playing in the yard, as if Lucas was cataloging every detail of our lives to use against us. I thought Lucas wanted custody. But now it felt like something darker, something personal. That night I stayed up watching Miles sleep. His peaceful face was such a contrast to the chaos swirling around us. I reached over and touched his hand, feeling the fragile thread of innocence that still tied us together. The next morning I called Denise. "He's not just trying to win custody," I said, my voice breaking. "He's trying to ruin me. And he's involving Miles in it." Denise frowned. "We'll need to move fast. And carefully." We agreed to get a court order to monitor Lucas's communications. But before the legal wheels could turn, Miles started changing. He was quieter, more withdrawn. His favorite drawings stopped. He stopped asking about dinosaurs and stars. Instead, he'd ask in a tiny voice, "Mom, do you think Dad really loves me?" My heart broke a little more every time. One afternoon, Denise called. "We got something. From Lucas's phone records. He's been meeting someone, a woman, late at night. Not a girlfriend, no one you've met. But someone connected to a private investigator." My blood ran cold. Someone was spying on me. Someone hired by Lucas was watching our every move, probably reporting back everything to him. But the real shock came the day I confronted Lucas's sister, Rachel. I had avoided her for months, hoping she wouldn't get involved in this mess. But when I ran into her at Miles's school pickup line, I decided to take a risk. Rachel, I said, my voice steady but my heart pounding. I need to know the truth. How much do you know about what Lucas is doing? She looked at me, eyes darting nervously. Then in a whisper she said, You don't know the half of it. It turned out Rachel wasn't the innocent bystander I thought. She'd been secretly feeding Lucas information, not just about me but about Denise, the attorney, even my closest friends. Her loyalty to Lucas went beyond family. It was dangerous. Before I could ask more, Rachel's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, paled, and said, They're watching us right now. You need to be careful, Tessa. That night I installed cameras, but not for spying. For protection. We weren't just fighting a custody battle anymore. We were fighting a war in the shadows, with enemies disguised as family. And Miles. He started to open up again, but only in the safety of those cameras, in the moments when he thought no one was watching. One night, he whispered something I'll never forget. Mom, I think Dad's scared of something. That's why he's so angry. But I don't know what it is. I held him tight and promised, We'll find out. Together. The days that followed felt like walking through a storm with no shelter in sight. Every knock at the door, every unexpected call made my heart race. I couldn't trust anyone, not even Rachel, who was supposed to be family. But it was Miles who pulled me back to what really mattered. One afternoon after school, he surprised me by handing over a small, crumpled notebook. I want you to see this, Mom, he said quietly, eyes downcast. I flipped it open and found pages filled with childish handwriting and drawings, but among them were words that stabbed straight through my heart. Dad yells a lot. Makes me scared. I hide and cry. I want to be safe. Tears blurred my vision. He was trying to tell me what he couldn't say out loud. And that made the weight of the battle even heavier. That evening, I met Denise at a quiet cafe to plan our next move. She slid across a thick file, filled with fresh evidence. This, she said, is why Lucas is so desperate. I looked through the documents, shock blooming inside me. Financial records, emails, even a contract. Lucas had been hiding debts and secret loans, debts he was trying to pin on me to sabotage my reputation. This isn't just about custody, Denise said grimly. He's trying to ruin you completely. I felt sick, but also strangely empowered. If I could expose this, the judge would see the real Lucas, not the charming father he pretended to be in court. But then came the call that shattered everything. It was Joan, Lucas's mother. I hadn't spoken to her since the first hearing, but she sounded different now. Broken. Tessa, please, she begged, voice trembling. There's something you need to know about Miles. Something about his health. My heart stopped. What is it? I whispered. Joan hesitated, then confessed that Miles had a rare hereditary condition, one Lucas had been hiding, something that required immediate medical attention. And Lucas hadn't told me because he didn't want the custody case delayed. I was furious. How could he risk our son's health for his own selfish games? The next morning I took Miles to a specialist. The diagnosis was serious but manageable. With the right care, Miles could have a normal life. But the revelation rocked me to the core. At the next court hearing, I felt a mix of fear and determination. Denise presented the financial evidence and Lucas's hidden debts. The courtroom murmured, but then the real bombshell dropped. Lucas's lawyer, for the first time, hesitated, and then accused me of hiding something as well. A confidential report surfaced, claiming I'd once missed a therapy session with Miles. My chest tightened. I'd missed that session, but for a reason. Denise and I scrambled to get explanations and additional records. Then, just when it felt like everything was spiraling out of control, Miles stood up and spoke. His voice small but clear. I want to say something. I'm scared sometimes. But Mom helps me. She listens. Dad doesn't. The judge leaned forward, eyes on Miles, and the courtroom went silent. I squeezed Miles's hand, tears streaming down my face. This was more than a battle for custody. It was a fight for truth, for love, and for the future of my son. Outside the courthouse, Rachel approached me, a flicker of regret in her eyes. "I never wanted it to come to this," she said softly. "But Lucas, he's not the man you think." And just like that, the fragile alliance shifted again. The shadows around us grew deeper, and the fight was far from over. The day after the hearing, I woke to a strange quiet. The kind that feels heavy like the calm before a storm. Miles was asleep, peaceful for once, and for a moment I allowed myself to hope. Maybe, just maybe, things were starting to turn. But hope can be dangerous when you're tangled in a web of secrets. Rachel's words from the courthouse echoed in my mind. Asterisk, Lucas, he's not the man you think. Asterisk, I needed answers. If she knew something, anything that could help us, I had to find out. That afternoon I met her at a small park nearby. She arrived tense, glancing over her shoulder as if afraid someone was watching. "Lucas has been hiding a lot more than you know," she whispered, voice low. "There's a reason he's so desperate to keep Miles away from you." I waited, heart pounding. She pulled out a folded envelope, old and worn. Inside were photos, emails, and bank statements, evidence that Lucas had been funneling money to a secret account overseas. But worse, there were photos of him with another woman, someone who wasn't Joan. My breath caught. An affair. Betrayal. That explained so much. The late nights, the lies. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I thought I was protecting him, but I was wrong. Before I could ask more, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Asterisk, stop digging or you'll regret it. Asterisk. Fear and anger surged through me. Whoever was watching wanted me to back off. But backing down wasn't an option anymore. That night, Miles woke with a fever, trembling in my arms. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed his condition had worsened. The hereditary illness Lucas hid was progressing faster than expected. I sat by his bedside, helpless and furious. Lucas's betrayal wasn't just about lies. It was putting my son's life at risk. The next morning I received a call from Joan. Her voice was shaky but urgent. "Tessa, there's something else. Something I never told you." She revealed that years ago, before Miles was born, Lucas had been involved in a criminal investigation. Money laundering linked to the offshore accounts. He'd escaped charges by blaming someone else, but the trail was still active. "I'm scared for Miles," Joan confessed. Lucas's past could destroy him. The courtroom was a battlefield the next day. Denise presented the new evidence, exposing Lucas's hidden past and financial crimes. The judge's expression darkened with every word. Lucas's lawyer fired back with a venomous attack, accusing me of fabricating stories and alienating Miles from his father. But then, in an unexpected twist, Rachel took the stand. Her testimony was raw and honest, revealing the affair and the secret accounts. She spoke about Lucas's manipulations, the lies, and the danger he posed to Miles. The courtroom was stunned. Lucas's face twisted in rage, but his facade cracked. The man who had seemed so controlled was unraveling before us. Just when it seemed like victory was within reach, Lucas dropped his bombshell, a recording of a phone call between me and my therapist, suggesting I was unfit to care for Miles due to emotional instability. The room gasped. I felt the floor slip beneath me. Was this the end? Then Miles, small but fierce, stepped forward again. "Mom is the strongest person I know," he said, voice steady. "She fights for me every day. I want to stay with her." The judge nodded slowly, absorbing every word, every tear, every truth laid bare. Outside the courthouse, as cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions, I realized the battle was far from over. But for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Because sometimes, the darkest secrets bring the brightest light. The courthouse was still buzzing with whispers and flashing cameras when I stepped outside. I thought the hardest part was over, but the fight was far from finished. Lucas wasn't just a man cornered. He was a man desperate, dangerous, and unpredictable. The recording he played in court haunted me. I knew it could shake the judge's faith in me, and suddenly, every small mistake I'd made felt like it would be magnified and twisted against me. That night, as Miles slept, I sat at my kitchen table, The new evidence spread before me. The offshore accounts, the photos, Lucas's betrayal, and the recording. It was a tangled web that threatened to swallow us whole. Then my phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello," a low voice replied. "Tessa, I'm the one who sent the message. You need to be careful. Lucas's reach is long." Froze. "Why are you helping me?" Asked cautiously. "Because I know what he's capable of. And because Miles deserves better." The caller hung up before I could ask more. The next morning, Denise showed up with a woman named Claire, a former investigator who had worked on the case Lucas was involved in years ago. Claire's presence was unexpected but welcome. She had a reputation for uncovering truths no one else could see. At the courthouse, Claire handed over a stack of documents, bank transactions, surveillance photos, even recorded conversations that painted Lucas as the mastermind behind a complex money laundering scheme that stretched far beyond what we'd imagined. But the biggest shock came when Claire revealed something that rocked my world. Joan had been aware of Lucas's illegal activities for years and chose to stay silent. My heart shattered. I confronted Joan after the hearing. "Why didn't you tell me? Why protect him?" She broke down, tears flowing freely. "I was scared, Tessa. Scared of losing him. Scared of what he might do if I spoke out." "And what about Miles? Did you think about him?" My voice cracked. Joan looked away. "I thought I could fix it, that he'd change. But I was wrong." The betrayal stung more than Lucas's lies. Joan, who I had thought was on my side, had been hiding the truth all along. Days later, Lucas's lawyer pushed to introduce evidence claiming my mental health was unstable, using the therapy recording as proof. It was a smear campaign meant to dismantle me. But Denise and Claire fought back fiercely, exposing the tactics and presenting expert testimony on my strength and resilience. Then, a surprise came from an unlikely source: Lucas's younger brother, Ethan. He appeared in court, nervous but determined. "I can't stay silent anymore," he said. "Lucas is dangerous, and he's been controlling everyone, including me. I want to help you stop him." His testimony was a bombshell. Ethan revealed Lucas's threats and intimidation tactics, painting a picture of a man who used fear to maintain control. The judge listened carefully, the courtroom silent except for Ethan's voice. That night, as Miles and I sat together, I felt a shift, an undercurrent of hope mixed with fear. We weren't out of danger, but we were no longer alone. However, just as I started to breathe easier, my phone lit up with another message, chilling and clear. "This isn't over. Watch your back." The battle for Miles's future was far from finished. And Lucas was ready to fight dirty. But so was I. The warning text from Lucas haunted me like a shadow. Every creak in the house made my heart race. I installed new locks, cameras, and even changed my phone number. Anything to protect Miles and myself. But Lucas was clever. One evening, as I tucked Miles into bed, the power suddenly cut out. The house went dark. "Mom!" Miles's voice trembled. I grabbed the flashlight and held his hand tight. "I'm right here, baby. It's okay," called Denise. "He's escalating. I think he's trying to scare us into silence. Hold tight, Tessa. We're moving the hearing up. This ends soon." The next day, the courtroom was packed. Everyone knew this was the climax. Lucas's face was cold, but there was something else. Desperation. He couldn't hide it. As the judge called the session to order, Denise presented new evidence. Emails Lucas sent threatening witnesses, proof he bribed officials, and a recording of him confessing his crimes to an accomplice. Then Ethan took the stand again, more confident this time. He detailed how Lucas planned to run, leave Miles and me with nothing. But the biggest shock came when Joan unexpectedly stepped forward. "I lied," she said, tears streaming. "I covered for Lucas because I was afraid, but I want to do right by Miles. I'm done hiding." Her confession broke the courtroom. Even Lucas looked stunned. Joan's testimony confirmed everything and sealed Lucas's fate. The judge sighed, looking at Lucas with finality. Mr. Walker, your actions have endangered this child emotionally and physically. I hereby award full custody to Ms. Reynolds and order supervised visitation at the court's discretion. Lucas's lawyer tried to protest, but the judge's decision was firm. As Lucas was led away, defeated and silent, I felt a wave of relief and exhaustion crash over me. Sighed. Miles hugged me tight. Mom, we're safe now, right? I smiled through tears. Yes, baby. We're finally safe. Weeks later, life began to heal. Miles's laughter filled the house again. He started soccer practice, made new friends, and even drew comics about a brave hero who never gave up. Joan reached out asking for forgiveness. It wasn't easy, but we began to rebuild, cautiously. And me. I found strength I never knew I had. I spoke at support groups, helping other moms find their voices. Lucas's shadow faded, replaced by hope and new beginnings. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't just to fight, it's to believe in a better tomorrow.